All right, how's everyone doing?
Good
Morning. So I was making a bet with someone before coming down. So I said, who's next? I said, mostly engineers. I bet you they have a tape measure. They measured 6 feet between everyone.
We talked about that. We talked about that while you were.
I bet you did. Okay, hey, thanks for giving me the time to say a few words with you, okay? So it's been a pretty dynamic and interesting, probably 2 to 3 weeks, depending, on where you have been. But a lot has changed, right? And I fully recognize that there's a lot of angst, there's probably a lot of frustration, and there's probably a few of you that are worried, right? So what I'm hoping to do is sort of shed some light on the priorities that we have in place across the Navy, within the command, and to give you some actions that we're taking, and then also some of the things that you or we should be doing. Okay, fair enough? The first thing that I would tell you is that the leadership is taking this pretty seriously. Okay, there's no shortages of emails that I receive every day. The most recent one that I received was just last night, and it was telling us how the Navy is postponing all the promotion boards that are remaining. Okay, so that's pretty seriously. That's pretty serious. Okay, so the Navy is taking this very seriously. The Navy, as well as probably all DoD agencies, have set priorities. The first priority, which is the same across all services, is the health and safety of our people. All right, that's number one. And it's not the people that just work. This extends all the way out to your families. All right? We recognize that. We recognize that. We understand that. The second priority is about our mission. The mission needs to go on. The mission of our military, the mission of our country cannot pause. Right? I have a daughter that's a nurse. Does anyone want her to just take off and go home? Probably not. Okay, so our mission needs to persevere, needs to go on. And then the last thing is that this situation that we're facing today is not just an internal item within the Navy. So we are very mindful of what's happening outside the fence line, i.e. schools. This is a whole of government issue, countries. So we need to take that into account. So we can't be dismissive of that. And so that links into the priorities of what we have set up. All right. Now, internally with that, what we're going to do is we're going to maximize telecommuting. You're not going to be 100%. No one's going to be at 100%. Okay, but we're going to maximize it. And when I say maximize telecommuting, is to give you the opportunity to work at home. I'm also going to maximize flexibility of the working hours. Right? How many of you all today have kids at home that last week the kids weren't at home, or the week before, right? We've all been there. I told my kid, hey, congratulations, I think you just graduated from high school, you're a senior, I don't think you're going back. I have another one from college. He's like, Dad, I need to go back and get my computer, because he's working at home for the rest of the semester. So our daily lives have changed. You may not be going to church anymore. My church said, hey, expect the doors to close next week. You can listen to sermons online. I think that, some people in our household were doing cheers on that one, but it's that was something that was discussed. Right? Grocery stores. I don't know about you. I was a little upset last night when I went to go get a loaf of bread and there was nothing there. All right. So the world has changed. If you're Irish, St. Patrick's Day may not be a big of a bang. Your pub that you went to last year may not be open this year. All right. So those are the realities, and those are things that we have to consider. And so when we take into account the telecommuting or the max, it's going to be different for every business line. All right. So please don't compare what you're doing here. Mostly, I think they're CI and BD, I believe. To what PW or AQ is doing. We need to accommodate the mission with the circumstance of the individual. And so that individual is the people piece, the number one focus area. We need to take that into account. I do believe that this is going to be a game changer on how we work. Right? So we're going to maximize that. We're also, we're still gonna have people coming in, right? So people are still gonna be here. We need to be respectful and we need to be in compliance with the protocols that are being put in place. The protocol that's being put in place. So what is that protocol? There is a social distancing of 6 feet. There's a level of awkwardness associated with that, right? But we need to enforce it. We need to comply with it. The washing of the hands, this is always a pet peeve of mine. People would put in the, where's the fourth? I used to like rip down page, wash your hands before you leave. Sure. That's like a given. We don't even remind people. I don't want to have to put those signs up, but you got to wash your hands, 20 seconds. That's protocol. If you are not feeling well, do not come into work. Self-quarantine yourself. It is okay. We are not invincible. We are not 18 years old. All right, we are not superheroes. There is no shame in waving the quarantine card. You'll still get paid, but it's about respect for your coworkers, and it's also for safety of yourself. Number one, people, right? Health of people, that includes you in that factor. So it's going to be critical that we understand those compliance protocols, and we need to enforce them. There'll be a level of awkwardness. I come in here a lot. I probably am not going to grab any of your candy for the next 60 days, okay? But I'm not going to shake your hands. I will try to keep, 6 feet, and I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go to a level of craziness, but I got to set the example. Please don't take that as being rude. I will not take that as you being rude, okay? And there is, like I said, a level of awkwardness. I'm not foolish. I mean that we have to apply common sense there, but we need to maximize that. There should be spacing in your conference room when people are sitting down. We'll joke about it. We will. I know we will. But it's something that we definitely need to set the right tone for. It's going to change. What I tell you today, there'll be some additional restrictions probably tomorrow. I tell people I wouldn't be surprised if the food court is closed by the end of the week. That's possible. The exchange may be closed. I mean, I went and got a haircut yesterday because I was thinking they would cut the, secure the barber shop in the near future. But there's definitely going to be some restrictions on. We will pass that information as it is as we receive it. It is very possible that you'll get information before it gets sent out. Please don't view that as the command doesn't care or the command doesn't know. The reality is we may be getting a little late or we're still disseminating it. Okay? What one command does may be different than another command. That's okay, because we're all different and we're all going to have different circumstances. All right? So please recognize that. But I will tell you the priorities that everyone takes into account is the same. It's something that's important for us to make sure we understand. I thought it was important for you to hear it from me. Okay, you to hear it from me. I won't be here for a while because my travel restrictions have been sort of put at a kibosh as well. In fact, a lot of us are going to be here hunkered down for a while. But we need to move forward with our mission, and we need to make sure we move forward with our mission while taking into account the needs of our people. Okay? So with that, I'm happy to take any question that anyone may have. Yes?
Are the field offices doing the same thing?
Yes.
So all the way down to the ROIC offices or projects
Absolutely.
being held up, or are they being stopped?
We'll have a phone call today to talk about the risk that's being incurred. Okay? So it's a risk assessment. Everything is different. So just, what applies at headquarters applies to the field. How they execute it is different. All right? There are some things that you still have to do. You have to inspect the job site. I do not see that going away.
So they're not stopping the construction projects?
No.
Okay.
They should not. Will construction slow down? Possibly. All right, because there's going to be people that you may not get as many people coming to the job. I can tell you that I know of friends that are project managers on big jobs. Anyone familiar with the Air and Space Museum? okay? The project manager, one of the project managers was saying, you're gonna telecommute for the next 3 weeks. Now, keep in mind, they have 4 or 5 project managers, they're rotating them. So instead of having all 4 on the same job, they're gonna, that's their mitigation. So we're gonna be doing something very similar. All right, there was a field office that quarantined 22 people in Southeast just last week. Okay? So what do you think, what impact do you think that had to the field? I'm assuming some. But again, we have to follow the priorities that were set up. The mission cannot stop. That cannot stop. United States Naval Academy. In fact, they're supposed to finish a project on May 22nd, Grace Hopper Hall. And they started talking about impacts of coronavirus. I'm like, okay, but your completion date of 22 still holds. Start having people work on weekends, start double shifts. There's ways to work around it while still respecting the safety piece of it as well. Okay, they may or may not, contractors may or may not be able to get as many people on the job because you can have a crew that self-quarantines, right? Someone comes in, hey, got it. I do not want that crew on the job site. They shouldn't be on the job site. Why? Number one, health and safety. Health and safety. So the leadership has the responsibility to understand this, and they have to apply it to the environment and the command that they're at. And that's what it's going to be. So that's why I always say that consistency it depends on the environment. But the lines of efforts that we have are the same. But it'll vary from case to case. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good question. Okay. Anything else?
Chief, along the same line, it's just like Jenny's question. We got a question from the Marine Corps a little while ago. Hey, your construction contracting to continue, and I think you're very clear in what you said. Is like we're going to continue the mission and follow the protocols. And right now, there's nothing that's holding us up from executing the mission, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, and something I thought about that because we have a big, for the people in CI, there's a lot of large contracts that need to be awarded, right? We took on $1.7 billion more from the Marines, another $1 billion from China Lake. So does it make sense, I haven't talked to you about this one yet, but does it make sense that we award on time but delay starts? So maybe based on where we are from logistics and, people, we may have to start later. Rather than, hey, you must start within 60 days, maybe you start within 90 days. Case by case. So you'll see there's some hesitancy from me to give a definitive answer for anything. And the reason is I'm one of those that it depends on the situation, right? And same thing with a telecommuting policy. Well, if today your environment changed because you have to, instead of dropping someone off, you're got to keep them at home, we got to take that into account, okay? And we'll reassess. Right now, this is going about 11 May is the line that they drew on the restrictions. Why 11 May? I don't know, probably 60 days. Some of the schools drew 30 days based on, for some reason. I guarantee that they will reassess a week before that suspension date to see where we are. Okay, and that's why this is a very dynamic process. And so this is the communication is not going to cease on this one. Okay. Right. Any other questions?
Sir.
Yes.
I'm here TDY.
Oh, okay. From where?
Rhoda.
Rhoda?
Yes. Good.
Yeah, you're going back. Go ahead.
Well, I'm supposed to go back on the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still doing meal flights?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll continue to do meal flights?
Mm-hmm. Very good question. So here's the general policy for people. Have you enjoyed your time here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Okay.
Yes.
You have an affinity for Rhoda, don't you, sir?
Hey, I'm willing to trade with you. I'll go back to Spain for you if that's. So here's what it is. Everyone that's TDY, and we have a lot of people here in the leadership development program. The guidance is we need to get you back.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we got to get you back. We got to get you got to come and get back. Now there are rotation flights that's impacting. If we can't get you on a rotator, you're going to go commercial back to that.
My preference would be not to have to go through Madrid.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So those are the things. Now, the other question is, I don't know what, countries are, designated as, what is it, 1, 2, and 3? Is that, what's Spain right now, 3?
All of Europe is 3.
All of Europe is
Right.
3. So that's another factor that needs to be considered.
Right.
So it goes back to my earlier question. It's very hard for me to give a definitive answer without understanding, the specifics. But in your case, people that have been that are TDY need to go back to
Okay.
to the location.
Okay.
If now it goes back into mil air versus civilian air, which is very common as well. And then the third factor is what's the rule base for you going back to Spain or overseas? I do not know the specific answer to that, but did I tell you we had 2 subject matter experts? We definitely know the policy that applies to that.
Okay, so how do I?
Who's your supervisor?
Hillary McDonald.
Okay, so that should be pretty simple.
She's TDY.
We
Or
already
she's
talked.
teleworking right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
No, just letting them know we chatted about the same thing as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you should have, if you do not have an answer by close of business today, you come right up and see me.
Okay,
Okay, is that fair?
thank you.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Again, a lot of questions
Thanks,
out
sir.
there, and I know they're all unique because everyone's got different circumstances. But one thing that I will tell you, that we owe everyone an answer, okay? And we should easily be able to give you an answer within 24 hours. But I would also tell you that the answer that I give you today really could change tomorrow. And, I mentioned earlier about the promotion board. Today I could, if someone was gonna ask me on Friday, what do we need to do? I'm like, oh, here's the situation, book your tickets, and then I'm like, cancel the tickets. So that just shows you how it changes. There was a big promotion party that was happening next week. Now I will tell you that they last week canceled it. Had they not canceled it last week, they would have been told to cancel it today. Right? So that's the dynamics that we're dealing with. So really, that's why I see frustration sometimes build up, because it just changes so quickly. Please know that your leadership cares, and those lines of efforts will not change. And we just, I appreciate supervisors' patience and steadfast leadership on this, because it's evolving situation. Okay? Any other last questions? Okay, hey, thank you.